That's the ultimate point of the financial plan, is the freedom number. Yes, you got yourself out of debt. Yes, you got an emergency fund saved up. Yes, you're now investing into the S&P 500 or any index fund you choose. Good. But what's the overall goal of all of that? The overall goal of all of that is to make sure you have enough money so that when you're retired, you don't have to worry about working. The freedom number represents that. But I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys don't want to wait until you're 62, 59, 60, 65, 70 to retire. I'm sure a lot of you guys listening would love to retire earlier, and it's possible. You can do it.
Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of. Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of.
All right. Money is on my mind indeed. Yes, everybody. This is your boy, Darrin Harvey, and I am joined by Maurice Shabazz, co-host, and we are the team at Financial State of Mind, the show that helps you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we discuss financial and business literacy and anything and everything to do with the almighty power of the dollar. And this show is being streamed right now at kgpc96.9.org. and KGPC 96.9 FM, and available on all streaming platforms of choice. And today's topic, what is your freedom number and how do you calculate it? And of course, how do you get there? So I'm surprised I've not done this episode yet, because this is something I do for my clients a lot. But okay, freedom number. What is that? What do I mean by freedom number? I mean financial freedom number, meaning that you never have to work a day in your life again. You have enough money to where you do not need to work regardless of your age. That's what I'm talking about when I say financial freedom number. So listeners, what if I can tell you guys that me and Shabazz over here can help you figure out that number? It's just a math number that you can calculate, and that we can do it regardless of your age, regardless of your situation, regardless of if you're single, if you have a partner, if you have kids, single daddy, baby dad, don't matter. Today's topic and discussion is the importance of knowing your financial freedom number. So, Shabazz, I'm going to ask you that question. Do you actually have a financial freedom number?
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay, so do you mind sharing with the audience what that number is?
So my financial number, I calculated just according to inflation, taxes, and how much do I want to spend on an annual basis, and how long do I need it to last, right?
Right.
And what I came up with, if I retire at, let's say, 55, which pretty much that'll be in another 10 years, right? So in another 10 years, I should have, this is after taxes, I would say at least just for lifestyle. So if I calculated pretty much like, how would I want to spend my retirement? Do I want to travel? Do I want to do this? Which I definitely do. I definitely want to do some traveling. So I calculated that I needed to roughly around about 80,000 after that, just to live comfortably and live the lifestyle that I want to enjoy for the rest of my life, and just be able to not just pay bills, but just to even have extra just to do whatever I wanted to do. So that was pretty much a good number for me.
Got it, 80,000. So you mentioned some of the factors of how you calculated it, and you came up with 80,000. Mm-hmm. So to clarify, listeners, we're saying 80,000 net worth. It doesn't have to be liquid cash sitting in a savings account. Probably would not recommend that anyways. But Shabazz said 800,000. So
well, 80,000 on an annual basis.
Oh, 80,000. Okay, so you are saying 80,000 annually. So you say you would need to make 80. So my understanding of what you said is your investments or whatever you built would have to have you pay you out after taxes 80,000 a year.
Yeah. All considering just not being me by myself, I imagine I will be a couple status, right? So yeah, so 80,000. I factored all those things in just to live comfortably. So if, just say per se me, my wife, basically will be able to live comfortably off of 80,000 annually.
Got it. So do you know what that number is net worth?
Net worth, if we calculated it over how long I would need to last, let's say about 20 years, something about 1.6. That's before taxes, though.
Yeah. So I would say safely it's about $2 million for you, because the rule, and we'll talk about this later, listeners. We're going to actually break this down, or if we have time, we'll break it down. But if we use the 4% rule, $1 million is $40,000, right? So you can withdraw safely $40,000 out of $1 million, and that principal of $1 million would never go down. So $2 million would be your 80,000, which is what you just said. Right. Now, you're not wrong when you say 1.6. The reason I upped it for you is mainly because I'm thinking about the principal never running out, because that principal would then roll. It would basically pass on, right? You'd be able to pass it on to your kids and stuff like that. Now, if you don't care about that, then it could be lower. It can be lower. So when you say 1.6, you probably would have enough money for 20, 25 years at 4% draw rate. The principal would go down over time. You wouldn't leave your kids with 1.6, but I seriously doubt that number would be zero. I think I would pretty much guarantee that number would not be zero, even at 1.6 million, because at 1.6 million, you would be drawing about 50, 60-ish K a year, and that's without it going down. So if you draw a little bit more, that's like what? Not even, maybe 5%?
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, wow. It goes down from 1.6 to 1.5. Whoop-de-doo.
Right.
Whoop-de-doo. So that's your freedom number. Your freedom number would be, I would say, anywhere from at least 1.6, but for sure, confidently, 2 million. So I kind of went ahead of myself, but that was a fun live version of what I'm talking about. Some people know what they need annually. I always think about net worth because that's how you can do it passively, right? And I mean true passive. I mean real estate, arguably not even real estate. I'm talking straight up dividends from stocks, maybe REITs, maybe crypto, maybe gold, whatever. Like true passive money to where you don't have to work anymore. So to answer that question, what is my financial freedom number? Mine's is a bit higher. As far as what I need, just necessities, it's actually anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million would be like what I need to survive. Now, listeners, you might be wondering, well, how do you survive off of $40,000 a year if we're using the same metric of drawing 4%? Well, you have to think about it, listeners. When you are retired and you have a positive net worth of $1 million, that means you don't owe a mortgage and you don't owe on a car bill. So we know that I think it's like 60% of 60 to 70% of someone's spend, that's where the majority of your money goes to every single month. And then a close third could be groceries. So if you eliminate the first two big boys, you don't need nowhere near the money that you think you may need to survive. Keyword is we're just talking about survival. So I'm pretty sure even in the Bay Area, if you have no mortgage, no car note, you don't need $80,000 a year for sure. You can probably safely get away with about $40,000 to $50,000 if it's just you. For sure, $40,000 to $50,000. You own everything. You're just taking care of just bills, necessities. That's all you need. I would say is about $750,000 to $1 million. And then what I generally say is a general rule of thumb is for every person you want to take care of, you want to add another about $1 million to $1.5 million, depending on their lifestyle. So for me, with my girlfriend and my girlfriend's son, I have it at about $3 million is what I want. I don't necessarily need it, but that's what I'm aiming for, is a $3 million net worth, no debt, nothing like that. Shabazz, if you were to thinking about your kids, what would that number be? If you throw in your wife and your kids, what would that number be? Freedom number for everybody.
For everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Considering leaving inheritance?
Yeah, so it can either be leaving them inheritance, or you can give it to them while you're still alive.
Well, yeah, we probably would have to up that to around about, I would say somewhere around about 3, maybe 3.5.
Okay. Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. So, okay. So we're throwing all these M's around, and we're throwing them around like it's not a lot of money. Listeners, I want to make it very clear. I know this is a lot of money, but it's not impossible, especially if you're in the Bay Area. It's not like we're not walking past multimillionaires every day we're out and about. Like, there's a ton of them out there. And ultimately, this is all math. If you're my client and I'm sitting at a table like I just did with Shabazz, he figured it out and he broke it down for you guys. But I'll reiterate, it's just lifestyle, and it's just really your spend. So if you want to figure out how to do this yourself as you're listening to me, roughly, I'm not going to do an exact, but roughly you can figure it out very quickly. Just look at what you spent for the year. That's a pretty good idea. What did you spend for the year? So if you're making, let's just say $80,000, I believe $80,000 is $5,000 a month before taxes. So let's just say we're not talking about taxes. $5,000 a month is what you're making, and you're spending every penny of it, which you probably are in the Bay Area. So we need to find a way for you to make $5,000 a month without working a job. That's the goal. Or maybe you've done work, like let's say you're a podcaster like me, or you're an entertainer. You built something to where once it's built and you've sold it, that money is completely passive. I'll accept that as well. So we have to figure out, me and Shabazz would help you figure out, how do you do that? How do you make $5,000 a month passively? Well, it goes back to Shabazz, how many freaking episodes have we made about side hustles, increasing your income, streams of income? Shabazz, what's your favorite thing to talk about on this show when it comes to what's the most important thing people need to know? It's obviously credit. So listen to all of those previous episodes that we built together, we banked together over this time, and you have all this information readily available. That's just from us. I know, listeners, you guys are listening to other podcasters and you guys are listening to other influencers, and there's no problem with that too. But it comes down to simple math. Like, we need to help you make $5,000 passively. How do we do that? So, Shabazz, I know you're good at this. If I'm your client and you're trying to help me make $5,000 passively, what would you tell me?
Well, it depends the amount of risk. That's always a factor. I feel like somebody that's in there around my age, which mid-40s, I believe at that point you need to be more aggressive.
I agree.
And if that's the case, then it would probably be various things. I believe that we should invest in stocks. I believe that you should have a stock portfolio. I believe you should have a crypto portfolio. You should definitely have insurance, should be at the top of that list.
I agree with that big time.
And or real estate, right? So if you have that spread around between those dynamics, then yeah, you should be able to generate that passively. Like I said, especially if we're in an aggressive mode, right?
Right.
Not really moderate or low risk. We're doing things that are more or less moderate to high risk.
Right.
So if you're doing that, you should be able to easily, passively do about 5K. Everything that you should be doing at that point should be generating. Even saving, you should have it in a high yield savings account where you're at least getting 3%. So yeah, if your money is working for you in all different directions, right? Like everywhere your money is sitting, it's working in some kind of capacity. It should not be hard to actually generate that. That's the thing. And I think that people don't only have one vehicle where they got their money working for them. But if you got about 3, 4, or 5 arms that's constantly working for you at the same time, then yeah, it makes it relatively actually simple.
Right, exactly. So It's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? We're not saying that this is easy work. It's not
Right.
easy work. Nothing we say on this show is ever easy work. But actually, it is simple. Like Shabazz actually broke it down pretty simply. You should be having multiple arms. And before I continue, I want to roll back a little bit. Obviously, most people who are listening don't have what, $10, $20, $50,000 lying around in a savings account, right? Like, I'm not sitting here expecting listeners to listen right now to go, oh yeah, I already have $250,000, so getting to 750,000 or $1 million or 2 million is unheard of. Like, they can do it. No, like, I understand, listener, that you're probably maybe living paycheck to paycheck. You may have credit card debt of $5,000 or more plus. You may have student loans, whatever. You're not in this debt-free zone already. I get it. This is still possible, though. This is still possible. Shabazz hinted at it. The older you are, the more aggressive you're going to have to be. But let's do it the opposite way. The younger you are, listener, the more you have time to assist you, and you can leverage your time. So you don't have to be super aggressive, working 18-hour days, 3 jobs and stuff like that. If you're a college student listening to this, this is simple. Just pick a degree where you're going to earn a lot of money out the gate. If you're a college student, it's really that simple. Pick a degree, or maybe you're a high school student. Maybe you're thinking about choosing between college or a trade school where you can make, you can learn a trade or learn a skill, online education. I don't care. We talk about this over and over, and we're going to talk about it again. Invest in yourself. Find a way to earn more money, to command more money. Even if it is traditional W-2, as I've said plenty of times, I'm not against it. If you have a W-2 job where you're 21, 25, and you're making 6 figures, you're making well into the 6 figures, this is plausible. You just got to do the things that we talked about in this show plenty of times, which is having a budget, making sure things are not going to the wants, too much wants are being spent, saving. And this can be a part of your financial plan, is that freedom number. That's the ultimate point, in my opinion, of the financial plan, is the freedom number. Yes, you got yourself out of debt. Yes, you got an emergency fund saved up. Yes, you're now investing $200 a month, $300 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month into the S&P 500 or any index fund you choose that fits you. Good. You understood that. You've been listening to our content. But what's the overall goal of all of that? The overall goal of all of that is to make sure you have enough money so that when you're retired, you don't have to worry about working. The freedom number represent that. We talk about retirement in this country, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys don't want to wait until you're 62, 59, 60, 65, 70 to retire. I'm sure a lot of you guys listening would love to retire earlier, and it's possible. You can do it. It's not unheard of. You can absolutely find a way to get there earlier. Like Shabazz said, he's trying to get out the game in 10 years, in his mid-50s. That's achievable. Like, that's not unheard of. So, Shabazz, I know we talked about this, but let's keep going. What things can people do if they're in debt? Let's just keep it simple. Let's just say they got a few credit cards, maybe $10,000 in debt. They're making, the average household is $80,000 a year. What can they do to start this process of getting themselves out of the debt and a goal, going towards the goal of the freedom number we talked about?
Okay, so this is what I would do. So if I was them and I had credit card debt, let's say $10,000 to $20,000, right? And I know with the amount of income that I'm bringing in that basically I can't pay that off, tomorrow, right? It's going to take some time. One of the things that I would do is I would get myself, if you may already be in position, because some people got credit card debt, but they don't have anything derogatory. They don't have any late payments or anything negative reporting. They're paying on time, but they're just drowned in debt and interest, and it's so hard to get it down because they just don't have enough capital to actually pay it down at a much faster rate. So what they need to do in that scenario is get in a position to where you can get a personal loan and you can pay off those credit cards. If you're not in a position to actually get a personal loan, and usually most cases it might be due to that your credit score is just too low because the debt is dragging it down. So an easy trick is what I would say, go to places like Credit Strong. They have a account where you can add $10,000 of available credit to your credit portfolio, and it reports to all three bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. They have one that they start you off with a $5,000 line installment credit, and it's $250 for the whole year. After the third month, they start increasing it, your credit limit, $500 every month until it gets to $10,000. Now, every time you get a credit line increase on anything, it gives you points on your score. So that would automatically get you in position to where you would get an extra maybe 50 to 75 points over the time span of a year. Or if you want something that's a little bit more accelerated and you can actually afford it, they actually have an account where you could report $25,000 on your personal credit of available credit. So if you had $25,000 of available credit to your credit portfolio and you got $10,000 to $20,000 in credit card debt, that's going to break you down to at least below 50%. Let's just say if you're maxed out, and you're 20%, $20,000 in debt and credit card debt, that's going to bring you below 50%. Now, how much does that account cost? It is a little pricey. It's $300 a month. But the good news is that once you cancel, you might only need it for a few months just to get that personal loan. You might need it for 2 months. You might only need it for a month. Who knows? But once you say, hey, all right, I don't want to pay this $300 a month anymore, they give you all the money back.
Right.
So it's not like you're losing anything. So you just need to know exactly what to do with your situation.
Right, exactly. If you're starting from ground zero and I got $10K in debt, credit cards, that's all I know. It goes back to what we've talked about plenty of times, which is making sure you know how much money you make and how much money you spend, categorizing everything, as we talked about plenty of times, your wants and your needs. Get rid of all your wants or as much of it as possible and throw it all at debt. It really is that simple. Shabazz brought up an excellent tool you can use, or a company you can use as a tool to help you speed up that process. However you do it, which, again, just go to our back catalog. I can't express that enough. We've talked about it endlessly. Just pick one. Just however you do it, you do it. So, okay, Shabazz, I want you to walk with me. So now we got somebody who is out of debt. Mm-hmm. They're out of debt. Let's just say, again, average person, they're making 70, 80K. They're out of debt, but they got no savings. They have no savings, but they have, they're out of debt, so they have a good credit score now. Let's just say they have like a 750. Mm-hmm. How do you guide that person from that point to get to the freedom number?
It's a good question, because I'm doing that with a few people right now, where basically they had credit card debt, they got personal loans, they paid off all their credit cards. The best decision that they probably could make with that money instead of just spending it and it being gone, right? Now, once you're in a position in your credit score, because once you pay off those credit cards and that credit card debt, your score is going to jump up substantially, not just a little bit, a lot. And now you're in position to where you can get more credit. I wouldn't recommend getting personal credit, though. What I would recommend is figuring out some kind of side hustle. Figuring out, not necessarily even a side hustle, maybe a business that you always wanted to do, but something that's going to generate income for you. Because now you're in a position where you can actually access business credit cards. So you can go ahead and start an LLC, you can start a corporation, even a nonprofit, whatever it is, and you can be the personal guarantor for that entity and basically get anywhere up to, we get up to $250,000 in just business credit cards for our clients, depending on the dynamics, the score, and stuff like that. But you can get anywhere up to that. And let's just say, just on a lower scale, if you was able to have $50,000 to $100,000 in credit, 0% for the first 12 to 18 months, what could you do with that to help you generate a good, healthy monthly income? Think of some things that you can do. You might already know, exactly what you can do. You might have to do some research, but guess what? When you think about it from that standpoint, what if I had access to this amount of money, what could I do with it and to make it work for me? And that is a really simple way. That's something that everybody can do, not just some people. Everybody can do that, but they would just have to be focused, and they just have to be disciplined and not, like I said, credit is used to make more money. Credit is not used to finance things you can't afford. That's how you got into the credit card debt in the first place. So once you get out of credit card debt, you need to operate differently. Every time you use credit, whether it's personal or whether it's business, you should be using it to where it's going to bring back some kind of return. And if it's not going to do that, then basically you shouldn't be utilizing it. And it's just simple discipline. And it makes sense. If I use credit to help me make more money, guess what? It puts me in a position where I'm in control. It puts me in a position where I know how to manage the debt that I have. And if you don't do it that way, then guess what? You're not in a position, because if you're actually just working check to check and your credit cards are all maxed out, then yeah, you did it all wrong, obviously. But that is a simple method that everybody can do.
So one question that popped into my head when you said all that, and I'm listening to you, I'm trying to put myself in the listener's shoes. So, Shabazz, they're hearing all that, and sounds great. But what about if there's a listener or somebody out there, or imagine it's one of your clients, and their big thing is some type of student loan debt. A lot of people are walking around with $20, $30, $50, $100, $250,000 in student loan debt. That amount of debt is going to lower your score. So there's no way it can be 800. There's no way it can be 750. What do you tell somebody in that scenario when it comes to your strategy? What do you tell them? Do you just tell them we just got to follow this plan, or how do you encourage them?
It's still the same scenario still works. And it's all about adding more portfolio to your credit. Because it's still debt. That's what it is. Student loan is just debt. So you got all the credit cards paid off. That definitely is going to increase your score. Okay, you got this student loan. Depending on how much it is, let's just take a number. Let's say you got $50,000 in student loan debt. Go to a place like Tomo Credit. They're giving up to $100K credit line reported on your credit, and I believe it's only, I want to say it's $69 a month. Yeah, I believe it's $69 a month right now. So they have a thing where they report up to $100K on your personal credit, and it's only $69 a month. So that's very minimal. And it's like I said, if you owe, add more available credit to your portfolio. That's the key. There's resources out there where you can do this. And I know it's not a solution to pay off the student loan debt, but it's a solution to get to a point to where you can bring in more income to where you can actually bring down the student loan debt. I mean, there's so much that you can do if you have access to capital. That's the thing that I always talk about. A lot of people just don't have the access. You ask people all the time, if you have 50 or 100,000, what could you do with it? 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, I can make that work. But some people can't. Surprisingly, some people have more money. Some people win the lottery and end up back broke.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's going to, regardless of whatever amount it is, it's going to require some discipline.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just a reminder, listeners, you're listening to Darrin Harvey, Maurice Shabazz over here, Financial State of Minds, KGPC 96.9 FM. We're talking about freedom numbers, how to get there, how to figure it out for yourself. How can we help you? Okay, so let's keep going. So, Shabazz, you, again, so for a review, we had somebody who had like 10 or so K in credit card debt. They got themselves out. You helped them build business credit, start to get the credit cards over there. You mentioned that you can get anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 in business credit. So let's just say this is an A1 client of yours. They're following everything to your T. It's been 3 to 6 months since you've been working with them, and now they have business credit cards of up to $250,000. They're asking you, okay, well, I have all this business credit, but I'm still not sure about how this is going to help me leave my job or how this is going to help me build a business. Like, I just have the capital at this point. So how do you guide this person further?
Well, one of the things is that, of course, it's different ways that you can leverage that, right? Mm-hmm. You can get into real estate. That's one thing you can do. You can also depending on what they're passionate about. You can even buy into a small franchise. They have small franchises that you can actually buy into. And I think the starting entry level point is $10,000 and it goes up from there. So you can actually purchase a franchise and do some research on that. So if you just don't have a model or you don't have a good idea of something that could generate you some capital, I believe sometime finding models that are already set in place, like a franchise. Some people open up a UPS store. There's cheap franchises out there is what I'm saying. You don't have to do the McDonald's thing or anything like that, because of course you got to have, like last I checked, $1 million in liquid to even do that. But there's some affordable franchises that you can do if you have become pretty good at investing. Let's say you're day trading, you're investing in the stock market. You could take a portion of that, and if you're actually at a good rate where you actually have a good enough experience at trading, then basically you could actually use that to leverage income. But there's other things you could do other than besides in leveraging credit. They got prop accounts and stuff like that where they'll give you a good amount of money to trade in the stock market. They just have a list of rules you have to follow. So it's a lot of different things that you can do. And then you have 0% interest for the first 12 to 18 months in most cases. So you have a time period of where you don't even have to worry about any interest. So I think that in business, what a lot of people make the mistake of is people try to go too big, too quick. I see people go into businesses where in order to get this business off the ground, it's going to cost $50,000 to $100,000 just to get the location, to get all the equipment and all this other stuff. And now you start this business and you're in all this debt. I think that people should start with something that they can do from home. Or if it's like, let's say if you're doing some type of food service, get a food truck, get a trailer, or get something like that. Get something where you don't have to have no overhead. And then over time, once you outgrow your garage or your kitchen table or your trailer and the business is actually generating, I have outgrown this space. Now it's time for it to get a secure location, because now the business is bringing in a certain amount of capital to where it requires this. People try to go too fast, too quick, and go big too quick, but the demand was never there before you actually did that. And don't get me wrong, some people actually do good with it, but I think a lot of people make a mistake because they're incurring so much debt in getting it off the ground, and they don't have the liquid. They actually have leveraged credit to do it. So now you're in all this credit card debt starting out. Now you got to work your way out of that hole, and hopefully that when you open up the doors for business, that it'll actually start generating that amount of capital. But in most cases, that's usually not a good thing. So I tell people to start small and then let the growth of the business predict where you're going and when you need to expand.
Absolutely. And you mentioned two ones that I'm sure people would love to be able to do: real estate and investing in the stock market with business credit cards. So listeners, you may be wondering, Darrin, you keep talking about business credit cards. How do we use a business credit card to invest into real estate, to invest into the stock market? Well, if you guys don't know, there are services that will essentially, you can trade your business credit for liquid capital for a fee. So if you have, let's just say one business credit card is at $50,000. Well, you can go to the service or this company and you pay them the $50,000 and they'll give you $40,000, more likely $45,000 back in liquid cash. And there you go. Now you do that for every credit card. There you go. You have the down payment. That's your down payment for your rental property, for your house you want to burr, or you want to rehab it and then flip to sell it. A house that you want to quick flip it. You want to do some wholesaling. It don't matter. Even in California, even in the Bay Area, if you have $250,000 in credit cards and you only have to pay a 5 to 10% fee, you still have enough money for a down payment for a house in a Bay Area, for $1 million house, right? Mortgage loan, and then use that loan to flip a house, rental property, whatever. So that's how people in real estate use borrowed money to make money. That's exactly what to do. And that's just with credit cards. You can, of course, do that with actual business loans, whether they're micro or whatever the style or the type of loan it is. But this is how they're doing it in real estate right now to make money. So listeners, you can do it too. And you can do the same thing in the stock market. Like Shabazz said, you can literally take a credit card that has no interest rate, liquidate it and do some day trading. It doesn't have to be crazy day trading. It doesn't have to be something where you're making $5,000 in a day or anything crazy like that. It can literally just be an extra $100 a day, an extra $200 a day, heck, an extra $50 a day. And that's stuff that doesn't even take either a lot of time or a lot of your attention, so you can still be working your active 9-to-5 W-2 job, which I want to reiterate, yes, we are always pushing entrepreneurship. Shabazz just broke down how you need to make extra streams of income. We just chose business. But like Shabazz said, he's talked about creating a business that has low overhead. I'll go one step further. Create a business that's low overhead and doesn't take a lot of your attention and time. Make it easy. You can just be a consultant of whatever you do. So if you're a person who's in sales, you can be a sales consultant where you work commission only for other companies. If you're in IT or you're in cybersecurity, you can offer those services as a consultant. That's the simplest thing. You can be in HR and do it. Consultants are needed everywhere. And don't let AI fool you. Companies still want people to either manage the AI for that help software, or they just don't trust it. They just don't trust it. So always think about that. Like, don't let the AI push you away to think that you can't make money or your job's going to get replaced. That's not necessarily the case depending on what your niche is. So the whole summary, though, of what Shabazz said and what I'm saying is, get yourself out of debt, use personal credit so you can get into business credit a lot easier, and then use business credit to help you generate more money. Do that for X amount of years. Everybody's going to look different depending on the scenario. If you want to travel a lot more, probably going to need to do it for a little bit longer. If you want to travel only in the United States, maybe you want to do it you can do a little bit less. Like, figure out that number. The number is going to dictate how much money you need to make per month, which is what we did earlier. And that is going to dictate how long it's going to take. You figure out the yearly salary based off of your number. You figure out the age you want to retire, and then presto, that's it. You figured out your number. You figured out your lifestyle. And I would do it for both, listeners. I would do this exercise for your lifestyle, like the way you want to be living when you're retired, and just to survive. Just to survive. Because you want milestones. You don't want just one big goal that seems massive. You want milestones. You should probably have a milestone of just, what's the number so that I can survive off of my net worth? And then what's the number so that I can thrive? What's the number so that I can leave it for my family, for my kids, for my girlfriend, for my fiance, for my wife, whatever, whoever you care for? What is that number? That's the point of the episode. I want you guys to figure that out. And it's attainable. We just broke it down. Shabazz just broke it down how it's attainable. So let's go one step further, Shabazz. So you've helped this person get out of debt. They got $250,000. Let's just choose real estate. They chose to buy a property. It could be Antioch. It could be Stockton. It can be wherever. And now they're renting that property out. Mm-hmm. So now they're working. Let's just say it's been 2 years they've been doing this. Mm-hmm. They're still W-2. Now they're making $90K. And now they got some rental income coming in. Other than the property, that's their only debt. How do you guide them further now? How do you encourage them further?
So the only debt they have is the property.
Right. Because they took out a loan with the help of the down payment, stuff like that. That's the debt. So all the debt is what you would call good debt or okay debt. So what do they do now?
Okay, and they only have so the mortgage is the only debt they have. No credit card debt, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So did they just get this property, or they had it for a while?
Let's move forward a year or two into the future. So they've had the property for at least 2 years now.
Okay, so they had the property for 2 years. They have no credit card debt. So that means that they have good credit, right? Yeah,
this is someone who probably has, at this point, they've been paying on time for years. And now they have a credit score of, let's just say perfect credit score. Doesn't matter. At least a 780 plus.
Right.
On the personal side, they have some business credit now because they've been paying down those business credit cards. So my first thought, Shabazz, and you're the expert, but my first thought is they don't have only $250,000 in credit no more. They have more than that, right?
Yeah, because now they have assets.
Yeah. So what do you think they would have if they've been paying on time? What's to say they're able to somehow pay it off? They're able to pay off the $250 that they liquidated to buy the property. Somehow they were able to pay that off. How much credit, business credit, would they have at that point?
Oh man, they probably have double.
Double.
Yeah, I know people that actually got 500,000 or more in business credit, and they probably would have double. Because see, business credit is a totally different animal than personal credit, and when they see that you have large amounts of debts and you're able to pay them off in a short period of time, they want to give you more access to more capital. They figure at that point, if you're spending like that, you probably could use some more capital so that way you could do more, right?
Right.
Because they love those type of portfolios, because what happens is they can easily sell that debt on the market because it's a good account. It's good. It's what they call good paper, right? Or A paper. They got different grades for the paper that they actually sell. So for a bank, it's a good investment. So at that point, what they can do is they can get access to more capital, and what they can do is purchase more real estate, right? So at that point, income property, right?
Right.
Depending on what your model is, it might just be multiple unit, fix or flip, Airbnb. There's several different areas that you can get into, but you have the capital to do it now. So it's just all about doing your research and just making sure that they're good investments.
Right. Yeah. What I was thinking is, depending on how long this is taking place. So I said 2 years, but let's just say this is 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Pretty much what you said, acquire more real estate property. And you can even 1039 exchange or 1038 exchange, or exchange the property, sell the first property you had and do exactly what you said. Sell that property, even if you don't make no money off the property sale. You can sell it. I'm pretty sure your tax attorney will find a way to where you don't have to pay no taxes on the sale of that property. You're not coming out of pocket at all. And then you exchange it, and then you buy what you said, the duplex, the triplex, the quadplex, the property like that. You have the money either from the sale of the house, or you can keep that house and, like Shabazz said, liquidate the business credit cards again. And then now you have a quadplex somewhere. We're talking about California, but of course you guys can invest outside of California. That's definitely a possibility. And now you have this property making passive income for you, or as almost close to fully passive income as possible. And then you're still working your job. You're still working your 90K job, because the real estate is only taking you 10 hours a week. You're able to start a side consulting where you're working 20, 30 hours a week, and you're making 40, 30K off of it. So now your salary is at 120, 130K. 130K salary, positive assets. What can you not invest in, Shabazz, with that?
I mean, the possibilities are unlimited at that point. But I want you to explain real quick, for the people that don't know, listeners that don't know, what is a 1031 exchange?
1031 exchange is where you sell an investment property that you have, and you sell it, and you use the proceeds of that investment property to invest into an investment property that is equal value or higher value.
And why would somebody do that?
Essentially, they do not have to pay taxes on the sale of the house. So if you have profit equity, it's 100% profit. The equity at that point is 100% profit. And then even if you don't make money, which is what I said in this example, let's just say you break even, you're still not paying taxes, and you found a way to acquire a higher or more valuable piece of property without either a down payment without a down payment. The down payment came from the sale of the house that you paid no taxes for. So this is what they do in real estate, and this is how people start with just in-law units or condos, and they find themselves owner of a 100-unit apartment complex. We're literally telling you guys this is what they do. This is what they do. And that's assuming they started off, like I said, with this person, had 10K in credit card debt. This is how they did it. And it may take them 5 years or so. It may take them 10 years or so. It just really depends on the income you have and how disciplined you are. But people do that all the time. And I believe if you can do, well, it's not an exchange when you sell your primary residency and then you use that to buy another primary residency, or you just keep it, you still get a $250,000 tax deductible if you're single and a $500,000 tax deductible if you're married. So what am I saying, guys? I'm saying real estate is the best space to go into if you want to save money on taxes.
I'm going to ask one more question. Go ahead and close it out with that one. Now, you basically explained that you do this to basically get away from capital gain tax. My question, is capital gain tax expensive?
Yes, especially in the state of California. In the state of California, pretty much let me clarify. There's short-term capital gains tax and there's long-term capital gains tax. Your goal is to go for the long-term capital gains tax. The short-term is when you sell an asset and you profit and the sale happened within the first year of acquiring the asset. That is short-term. That's the one we all want to avoid because they will take half. They will take half. In the state of California, they'll take half. I would actually say 55%. This depends on your income level.
It's good to know.
Long-term capital gains tax is a fancy way of saying ordinary income tax. So that's what you want to aim for. So that's why you want to hold your property for a year. That's why I said in the example, they did a year or two or something like that. So they will sell the property. They will have long-term capital gains tax, which is just ordinary income. Let's just say they profited $50,000, where they're just going to be taxed at whatever $50,000 income rate they are. So we said they're making 120 plus 50K, 175K. So they're probably getting taxed. It's gonna hurt a little bit. It's gonna be about somewhere in the high 30s, maybe even the 40% if you're in the state of California. But again, if it's real estate, you can write off literally everything. Everything about that real estate can be written off. The fix up, the maintenance, just everything. It can be written off at the lifetime of the property that you've owned it. We just hit 50 minutes that quick. So we're going to have to wrap up the episode, you guys, but I will close it out like this. We've talked about so much, or I've talked about so much on this show about getting yourself out of debt, making a financial plan, investing. Get to that bag, manage that bag, grow the bag. There's a reason why I have that tagline. It's because you're using all those three to get to your freedom financial number or your goal, whatever that is. And I'm not here to tell you what that goal is. That's something that you need to talk to yourself, or if you have your partner, talk with your partner about and develop that number. And once you have that number, that is your North Star. That is when you know, okay, I have enough money to where I can stop or I can do whatever the heck I want. Or most importantly, listeners, why I'm obsessed about money, as you guys know, I bought my time back. I have whatever amount of options I choose to. That is what the freedom number is and why it should be important to every single person. It's your number so you can buy back those 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. 1/3 of our life is spent working, basically. That's the point of the freedom number. So I hope, listeners, you enjoyed this. You do your own calculations. Please drop a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere, tell me what your freedom number is. What do you think it is? And if you need help, feel free to reach out to us on Financial State of Mind. You just saw that we're able to do it for an imaginary client, so we can do it for someone like you. So thank you guys for listening. This has been your boy, Darrin Harvey, joined by Maurice Shabazz. This is Financial State of Mind, where we help you get to that bag, manage that bag, grow that bag as best as possible while talking about financial and business literacy, anything and everything to do with the power of the dollar. Streaming right now, KGPC 96.9 FM, and available on all streaming platforms of choice. We are out.